And John's message was, you need to repent because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. The king is coming, and you need to get ready for his arrival, is what he's saying. We're told in verse 3 that John was a fulfillment of this prophecy in Isaiah chapter 40 that says, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight. John was the voice crying in the wilderness. He's literally in the wilderness, telling people to prepare the way of the Lord, make his path straight. In ancient times, when a king traveled, they would send a herald or a messenger ahead of the king into towns to announce that the king was coming, so that the people in that town had the opportunity to get their town ready for the king's arrival. And the people would fill in the potholes in the road and make the road smooth for the king and clean up the garbage and just get the town ready for the king. And that's the imagery used in this prophecy in Isaiah chapter 40. The king is coming. So prepare the way of the Lord. Make his path straight. Make his path smooth. Clean up the garbage. And he's saying here, get yourself ready for the king, because the king is coming. Listen, Jesus Christ is coming again. And I believe that he's coming for his church soon. And the question is, are you ready? Are you prepared? The king is coming. Are you prepared? 1 John chapter 3, verse 3 says, everyone who has this hope purifies himself. As you sit here today, is your life pure? Is your life clean? Or are there some things in your life that need to be cleaned up, that need to be removed, that you need to get rid of? 1 John chapter 2, verse 28 says, and now, little children, abide in him, that when he appears, we may have confidence and not be ashamed before him at his coming. Are you prepared? Will you be confident when Jesus comes? Have you prepared yourself for that? Or will you be ashamed before him at his coming? If you're sitting here today and in your heart you're saying, you know what, I'm not ready to see Jesus Christ. There are things in my life that I shouldn't have in my life. I'm involved in things that I shouldn't be involved in. Get yourself ready. Get yourself ready. Prepare yourself. How do you do that? You repent. You take the next exit, you make a U-turn, you get going the right direction. You remove those things from your life. Verse 4 says John was clothed in camel's hair. Have you guys ever seen a camel up close or touched camel's hair? It's not exactly silk. He's clothed in camel's hair with a leather belt around his waist. Of course he wore a leather belt with camel's hair, right? It's a perfect accessory for camel's hair. I'm just brought the whole outfit together so nicely. That belt, I love the belt, John. Now, if you're a note taker, you can jot down 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 8. 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 8. Elijah the prophet wore a garment of hair with a leather belt. Remember, Matthew writes his gospel to Jews. John's outfit will make the Jewish reader who knows his Bible, or knows her Bible, will make the Jew immediately think of Elijah the prophet. He's dressed just like Elijah the prophet. Jesus said John came in the spirit and power of Elijah. And Elijah the prophet also ministered at the Jordan River in the same area as John the Baptist. Remember, Elijah was taken up to heaven in a chariot of fire at the Jordan River, in the same place that John is ministering currently. Verse 4 also says that John's food was locusts and wild honey. I guess wild honey to dip the locusts in, I'm not sure. There's not many restaurant options out there in the wilderness of Judea. So he's kind of, scavenging for food out there in the desert. Now look at verse 5. Look what it says. Then Jerusalem Now, it's probably like a 10 to 15-hour walk from Jerusalem out into the desert. It says in verse 5, then Jerusalem and all Judea and all the region around the Jordan went out to him and were baptized by him in the Jordan, confessing their sins. John was preaching in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and people showed up from everywhere by the thousands. They went out to John in the desert, and they responded to his call to repent and get ready for the coming king, and they were baptized in the Jordan, confessing their sins. Luke's gospel in Luke chapter 3 tells us that even tax collectors and Roman soldiers repented and were baptized by John in the Jordan River. Wow. I mean, wouldn't that be something to see? You've got Roman soldiers showing up, getting in line with everybody else and going down into the water and confessing their sins, getting baptized. This was an amazingly powerful move of God. And let me remind you that God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And God can do it again. And if I would pray that the Lord does it again, that we would see a move of God like this in our generation.